a well-known fact that Araki has a bit of a, how do I put this, forgetful mind. There are plenty of examples in JoJo's where it just is not adding up. Maybe a character uses, I don't know, an ability that he never, ever uses again. That's fine. We forgive him. We love Araki, but we don't forget. And to cope with that fact, I've decided to tier list every single time Araki forgot. Because every Araki forgot moment is kind of special in its own right, the tier list is gonna be completely vibe-based. Starting off with one that happens in part 2, the flaw in Strayzo's plan. So if you don't know this one, it's a little bit more of a complicated lore. Basically, the beginning of part 2, Strayzo kind of exclaims that he's gonna kill Joseph and Erina because they're the only ones who know about Hamon. But he may have forgotten about that one Lisa, that one person that he taught Hamon and also gave the redstone of Aja to, and like, you know, doesn't mention her in the plan. This one I'm pretty milquetoast on. I'm gonna go with a C for this one. Next one is Silver Chariot with his armor off. This isn't a plot hole or anything. It's just something that kind of happens and is never spoken about ever again, which is kind of wild because it's such a cool and like unique take on what stands could be. I feel like there was a lot of moments in part 3 where someone found a way to use their stand in like an interesting way, and maybe they got hit over the head with a fucking rock or something because they just forget they can do it. This one's a real shame though. I'm gonna go with a B on this one. This next one is an absolute classic. Erina escapes from this cruise ship where her husband is brutally murdered in Dio's coffin. The thing that the motherfucker showed up with. But at the beginning of part 3, when Dio makes his return, steps back on the scene, he is in his coffin. This is one of the most hilarious plot holes in all of JoJo's. You can make your petty little excuse that Dio brought 2 coffins. He did not. He did not. The only excuse that I can see why there are 2 coffins, he knew he was gonna box Jonathan so hard, he brought his coffin for him. That's an absolute reach though, I'm not gonna lie. This is one of the funniest plot holes in all of JoJo's, so that's getting an A. So this next one kind of has the same energy as like Silver Chariot losing its armor. When Kakyoin is introduced, he has this ability where he can just slash a painting and it inflicts damage like a voodoo doll. I have no fucking idea where this came from. This ability is essentially canned after the one time he uses it. I don't know if Araki was just like drunk one night while he wrote this and then the next morning he woke up and he was like, oh shit, chapter's due, gotta finish the rest. This one I think is arguably more funny than Silver Chariot losing its armor. I'm giving this one an A. Gold experiences life punch ability. So you remember in part 5 where he's fighting Bruno and then Bruno gets punched by gold experience and then he's like, oh my god, bro, I'm drunk. I'm like, you gotta smoke this shit, bro. Yeah, tell me one other time that happens. You got nothing? There is a chance that people getting punched by gold experience maybe do experience this. It's just not shown to us. Huh? It's stupid, I know. For that, I'm gonna give this one a C, I feel like. And sticking with the part 5 plot holes, we have just Fugo. Just him as a character. Is he still standing at the dock? There's even an ending scene where Giorno and Mista are like living it up, and this dude is still nowhere to be found. I think it's hilarious that Araki was just like, forget about it. We got bigger shit to worry about. Let's go. Keep it moving. I'm giving him an A. The torture dance radio scandal. This one's a minor plot hole, but I'm forgiving it. I will stand by this plot hole till the day I die because it birthed one of the best dance sequences known to mankind. So if you don't know what's happening, here is the Channel 9 news report for you. In the episode prior to the torture dance, Mista broke Narantsia's radio. But in the next episode, when they're gearing up to do the absolutely bust down, you know what I'm saying? The radio's fine. It's all good. No, it's fine. Now, because of the implications of this plot hole being very significant to the enjoyment of the JoJo community, I can't put this anywhere other than S. Next up, we have another forgotten ability, that being Star Finger. I think this is only used a total of maybe 2 times in part 3. Plenty of great memes have been created from this thing. I don't think there's really much more to say about this. I'm just gonna go B. This one is definitely lower on the iceberg of JoJo lore. The alien from part 4, his stand is called Earth, Wind, and Fire. In part 6, Jolene is fighting against that meteor guy. If you were anime only like me during part 6, you'll never know this. But apparently, when the manga was being serialized initially, this dude's stand was also Earth, Wind, and Fire. Doesn't make sense. Literally the next issue that came out, it was already changed. It was already changed. The alien from part 4 was literally like one of the most iconic characters in JoJo. It's just kind of like a funny little mistake. I'm gonna go with C for this one, I think. think. This next one, though, is less of a funny little mistake and more of a major plot hole to part 1 and 2. Zeppeli saying that he has no children to Jonathan. This dude really doubled, tripled down on his going to buy milk story. Immediately retconned in part 2. Obviously, Caesar exists. I don't think it's as bad as some of the other ones on the list. I'm gonna cut him some slack for this. I think C is also a fine rating for this one. Jotaro just forgot about the stand arrow during part 4. During the beginning of part 4, Jotaro tells Josuke that he just learned about this terrifying new invention of the stand arrow. But later in part 5, where Polnareff and Jotaro are going to look for the stand arrow as early as 1990. If it's not clicking yet, this diagram should help you figure it out. Dude cares way more about making his series as obnoxious, as funny, as out of the box as possible that he will literally throw the plot of the story out of the window if it benefits what crazy, kooky, wacky things he wants to do in the future. That being said, this is actually getting an A for me. Going back to abilities that are forgotten, Stan's shrunk at one point in the series. This one is just wild. It is wildly stupid is what it is. It's getting a B. Josuke's savior during part 4. There's a random flashback where Josuke explains where he got his hairstyle from. You can't tell me that this wasn't going to be foreshadowing for Bites the Dust ability. You can't tell me that. He would not have drawn this character so fucking identical to Josuke and then just say, nah, dude. Nah, it's just a lookalike. Hey, no mind. Like, are we looking at the same person here? Are we looking at the same person here? It is getting an S. If you disagree, if you're coping, cope harder. Josuke picking up Kira's button. How could this be a plot hole? You got a button of a suit. And then you remember Josuke's entire ability is putting things back together. He never thinks, I'm gonna put his suit back together. That didn't go through his mind or anybody else's mind in the room. This one's funny, but honestly, completely falls in character for Josuke and Okuyasu. When these two are together, they're combined IQ is like 42. I think I'm gonna give this one a B. Rohan needing people to see his manga in order for his ability to work. When he originally fights Josuke, he needs you to see his manga, but later in the series, this dude he just touches you. Could literally beat Goku by just being like, hey, what's up, pal? How's it going? Rohan kind of had this con to his ability, and then Araki was like, wait, I'm him. Why am I not overpowered in my own story? I'm putting this in S. Araki literally said, I am Himothy. Getting dangerously close to the end here, we have another classic, Jotaro and Dio flying. Literally flying like birds. Never mention again. And I love when I watched this for the first time that I didn't even bat an eye. At this point, the series was just so fucking weird that I was just like, yeah, no, that makes sense. I can see how they would fly. That has to be an S. That absolutely has to be an S. And speaking of that fight, does anyone notice that Dio just like ceased to use any of his vampire abilities during it? No, we didn't think about that one. Okay. The laser eyes from part 1, I don't know. I feel like that might have been kind of useful. I think this is less an Araki forgot and more of like an anime plot armor thing that would have happened in like any series. Because of that, I'm feeling kind of like a C. Finally, the last one. I honestly should have ended this on a bigger one. Probably would have been better for the retention, but hey, thanks if you're here, you know what I'm saying? Pound it. Giorno reflecting damage? I don't know why this wasn't used again. This was a pretty broken ability. It only happens in the fight with Leaky Eye Luca at the beginning of part 5. I don't know what Araki was on at the beginning of part 5. Giorno already has an ability that is forgotten. Part 5 is one of my favorite parts, but the more I realized that Araki had zero plan with this part, and I kind of love that. I'm gonna go with C for this one. Thank you guys for watching. I picked kind of the most famous Araki forgots moment, but there are more. If you want me to do a part 2, let me know in the comments below.